Hi, Home Depot customer service? Yeah, it's me again. Look, I've cracked another piece of furniture, and DIY home repair just isn't cutting it anymore. I need a caulking gun, you say? I'll take 20. If you were to tell me a few months ago that my latest foray into the dating world consisted of me romancing furniture around my house, I probably would have said something like, yeah, that sounds about right. But hey, beats a good chunk of the other dates I've been on over the years. I've been on some really heinous dates.
That's rough, buddy.
So, Date Everything, the game where you can date pretty much everything. The game came out in early summer, and with a premise like, hey, have you ever wanted to fall in love with your AC vents or front door? It very quickly captured many people's attention and affection. And with a catalog of over 100 dateable characters, you're bound to find at least one you click with. And if romance isn't your thing, then no problem. You can do a befriend everything run, or if you're feeling devious, a hate everything run. Congratulations, your candelabra despises you. I mean, granted, that route is not super hard to get. Date Everything has been so sweet and fun to play. It's easy to write off as like a silly, goofy, haha game, but there's so much heart to it as well. You get attached to the characters. Each has their own story and stuff they're working through. Some more light or serious than others. Yes, your smoke alarm has trauma. Some characters you bond with very easily and become attached to very easily. Others take some time to grow on you. Oh yeah, and I should probably mention that this game is stacked with voice actors. If you watch cartoons or anime or play video games, and let's be real, if you're watching this, then you probably do, I can almost guarantee that someone from your favorite piece of media is very likely in the cast of Date Everything. It certainly helps when the game devs are veteran voice actors as well. And with my profession, I really enjoyed seeing what other fans gravitated towards. Which dateables are more popular, which are more underrated faves, which are a little more polarizing. Just through a cursory glance at the characters on social media, I was like, yeah, I'll probably be obsessed with this one, and this one. Probably this one too. Of course, what ends up happening is that some objects that you were drawn to at first maybe aren't all you expected them to be, or maybe they sour a bit in your mind, and then others you meet along the way that maybe you felt kind of lukewarm towards originally end up stealing your heart. And the ships, so many ships, which are canon or implied, which are fan-crafted, which are cracky. OCs, hot takes, drama? The fandom has everything and then some. In true Coley fashion, I waited a hot sec to start Date Everything because I knew once I did, I wouldn't be able to stop playing it. And also because I like giving the fandom a chance to really marinate and settle, realize its identity, you know? But I'm kind of upset that I waited this time around because there's a place called Requiem Cafe that does fandom collab events, and they had a Date Everything event at the end of June. There were cardboard cutouts of the characters you could take pictures with, the voice actors were there signing autographs, there were themed drinks. I didn't start Date Everything until early August. The FOMO is hitting me hard! Why did I do that? But hey, at least I'm here now. I am kind of disappointed that I didn't see more Date Everything fan merch at the cons I've been to this year, but to be fair, with a cast of over 100 characters, fan merch is kind of tricky. It's a tall order to cater to everybody. There's the fan favorites, obviously, but then of course there'll be people like, wait, but my favorite character's not there? My Blorbo? Anywho, whether you're an avid Date Everything fan yourself and want to know what other object enjoyers have been up to, if you're a more casual player not super involved in the fandom but would like to know more, or if you know next to nothing about Date Everything but are feeling nosy, then come along for the ride because we're gonna take a dive into the Date Everything fandom. The epic highs and lows of dating your appliances, your laundry, hell, even your money. Which, speaking of, I want to give a quick and special thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Cash App. So as we're talking about Date Everything, I wanted to play around with Cash App's customization tools to create a personalized Date Everything inspired Cash App card for various characters and objects. We've got doors for Dorian, some toast and a guitar for Miranda, a trash can for Cam, a dust bunny for Dolly, even Jean-Loup the Lil Clapéa himself. Cash App itself is a financial platform that lets you send and receive money quick with your friends and family. There's no hidden fees, no monthly charges, and no minimum balance required. In addition to all of that, you also have perks like exclusive discounts on some of your favorite treats like coffee, video games, boba, and access to concert pre-sales for big artists like Sabrina Carpenter. For a limited time, new Cash App customers over 18 years old can earn $10 if they use the code CASH10 in their profile at sign-up, and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. If you're 13 to 17 years old, request a sponsored account from a parent or guardian, sign up with the code CASH10, and you'll get $10 dropped into your account when you order and activate your Cash App card, and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. If you're interested in any and all of the benefits Cash App has to offer, then download Cash App today. Thank you so much again to Cash App for sponsoring this video. Now let's go ahead and get to chatting about, well, dating everything. Let's go ahead and dive into the game itself first, how it came to be, who worked on it, the story, and the lore. Date Everything is the brainchild and was developed by Sassy Chap Games, a company created by 3 big-name professional voice actors: Ray Chase, Robbie Daymond, and Max Middleman. If their names sound familiar, you probably know them again from something you like. The initial idea for the game came about in 2018 when Robbie Daymond pitched the thought of a dating sim where the player could date inanimate objects. Ray Chase, who always wanted to work on a game, was on board. For about 4 years, the game was tinkered with. There were some pauses due to the pandemic, and some features were added and then removed. The goal was always to have 100 dateable objects, but at some point, about 500 potential dateables were on the table that they had to narrow down. Jesus Christ, can you imagine romancing 500 characters?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Rumor has it there'll be more DLCs released in the future, so that does mean we could be getting more objects or concepts to romance at some point. But yeah, the team really wanted to stick to that 100 dateable characters number, and in 2022, they joined forces with Team 17, an indie game developer and publisher known for titles such as Dredge, Blasphemous, Worms, and Overcooked. I had no idea that Date Everything and Overcooked were in the same family, but it feels like it makes sense, you know? After a bit more work, the game was teased, the trailer dropped, and to say that people were intrigued is an understatement. The game script has over 1.2 million words and over 11,000 hand-drawn art assets. Can I get an amen for no AI? It's a very firmly anti-AI sort of game. It's all about these unbelievable, specific pieces of art, music, and voice acting that could have never been made with AI. I couldn't imagine the level of computing needed to even get one of Aaron's designs, or the absolute weirdness of the writing and the way we're telling all these stories. That is an ethos we're going to keep with this company forever. That's never going anywhere. When put all together from all the different characters and their roots, there are over 70,000 voice lines. All in all, the game took 7 years from start to finish. This was a labor of love. Literally. By the way, if any of the devs just happen to be watching this, I used to do freelance voice work, wouldn't you know it? And my demos are still floating around somewhere, so hey, if a Date Everything 2's on the table at some point, I'd be happy to audition, just saying. Anyways, but seriously though, the voice cast did an insanely good job, as expected from professionals, and the artists too, holy huge props to Aaron Wong, the lead character designer and brain behind the Dateable's appearances, and the whole art team. Everything put together was just a visual and auditory delight. Speaking of auditory, did I also mention that every character has their own unique theme music to boot? Date Everything was originally slated to be released on Valentine's Day, but due to some bugs and additional testing needing to be done, it got pushed back to June 17th, which allowed it to become one of the hottest games of the summer. Now, because the creators of Date Everything are in fact prominent voice actors, who happen to know a lot of other prominent voice actors, they understood that drawing upon the talents from their community, their network, would be a huge boon for their game. They called in the cavalry of friends and colleagues, and over 100 voice actors answered that call.
Profigliano! I'm Chance, your D20.
Why a gee-gosh golly and a hi-de-ho!
Food is an art form, and the plate is the canvas.
The king of the ring! The Duke of Dunk.
I'm at my most creative when I'm a little messy. Hi, Mira. You're back again to ravish me and get me all turned on and then leave me again.
Cheese and crackers, you startled me.
I'm just stretching, you know. Luxuriating.
The story for Date Everything begins with you as the player being hired as a customer service rep for the mega corporation Valdivian. However, very quickly after your job begins, you're placed into labor limbo due to being replaced by AI. While you're stuck in your house in limbo waiting to see what happens next, you receive a mysterious package from someone who messages you online telling you to keep it safe. And that package contains the Daviator glasses, special technology that allows you to directly acknowledge a thing's existence, or date whatever you point the glasses at. Bum 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 bum! Yes, everything you see through these glasses turns into a beautiful, romanceable gajinka. After a quick tutorial, the game becomes a sandbox where you just go around your house and date everything in it. And as I mentioned earlier, there's 3 routes you can take for every character: friendship, love, or hate. And every time you achieve one of these statuses, you get what are called specs points, which stand for 5 categories: smarts, poise, empathy, charm, and sass. Every character falls under a different category, and having more points will allow you to unlock collectibles, more dialogue options, as well as a special game mechanic, which we'll get into in a sec. Due to the Deviators having limited charge, you can talk to up to 5 characters of your choosing per day, but you only get to talk to each of them once. Once you have an interaction or conversation with a certain object, if you want to talk to them again, you gotta wait until the next day. And given that there's a lot of stuff for you to chat with and discover, it's kind of up to you for how you want to space things out. Do you want to focus on a specific room or chunk of characters first, or do you want to spread things out as you go? Maybe you want to tackle the elementals first, or the kitchen crew, or perhaps you'll just romance whoever you cross paths with first. There are some quite frankly bizarre dateable options, which I really like, from the devs themselves with sassy chap to a literal glitch in the game, even the personification of the game's deluxe edition DLC. Alas, unfortunately, you cannot romance the narrator, although you can certainly try, but his voice actor, JB Blanc, also voices Jacques, so some objects you can only meet or date after certain requirements or tasks are completed. Others can have their relationships with you be affected by your relationships with other objects. And that's not even mentioning the dishwasher boss battle. It really is akin to like a choose-your-own-adventure visual novel. As for how the Deviators actually work, it's kind of like hand-wavy mumbo-jumbo sci-fi stuff, but for how you as the player are interfacing with the objects in your house with them. There's a few thoughts, a few game theories, if you will. Inferring from directly acknowledging a thing's existence, it's implying that the thing you're looking at has always been alive to some degree. And so by using the glasses, you're able to tap into that. Objects and concepts have something akin to a soul in another universe, and so they're able to interact with one another, form relationships, and have something resembling a society where everyone's polyamorous and just wants to love you. And I mean, hey, I'm stuck in my house, I'm down for some fun, and if I end up forming some meaningful relationships along the way, then sign me up! I mean, it's stated in the game that they literally run on a source called suspension of disbelief, so it's not meant to be taken very seriously. You could also just be Delulu, that's always on the table.
Let me smash. Please.
There's actually been a popular fan theory floating around the fandom that the game is actually a psychological horror, a masterclass in gaslighting and sending yourself into psychosis with literal rose-tinted glasses.
Have you ever wondered why maybe after a week or so your curtains start closing instead of opening when you wake up? How besides a Discord message every few days from a mystery person or one of your acquaintances, you literally never hear anything from the outside world ever?
You can't leave your house, or the game ends, your perception of real people becomes warped thanks to the objects you interact with. Is this all a black mold-induced hallucination after all? While not an official tag for the game, the genre was mentioned so often in reviews that psychological horror was added as a fan tag for a bit on Steam. And it's an interesting way of looking at a game that, again, seems fairly innocuous and silly from the outside. Though it does lightly touch upon heavier topics such as hoarding, stalking, toxic relationships, identity, body horror, etc. Getting into spoiler territory here, it turns out that the Deviators are actually prototype tech from Valdivian, the megacorp that you very briefly worked for. And Valdivian, which just made a deal with the military, was gonna fork them over for perhaps more nefarious purposes than simply dating objects around your house. And so to ensure they stayed out of the wrong hands, the creator of the glasses secretly sent them to you, the least paid, least loyal, lowest rung on the Valdivian ladder employee, for safekeeping. After you've reached a certain point in the game and have unlocked enough dateable characters, you also unlock a special mechanic that lets you take your relationships to a new level, a new objective, if you will. If you have the love or friendship route with the character, you have the opportunity to realize them, aka bring them to life. Yes, you can turn your toilet into a real boy. It's explained yet again with more sci-fi mumbo jumbo, but you're essentially bringing them from their limited object world into the real world, their true form, deep down inside, under all the upholstery. Yeah, this game gets really existential sometimes. I mean, you can literally date the embodiment of your existential dread, so. And he's voiced by ProZD.
That's a fantastic red shirt you've got. Glad it doesn't cover your sweet.
But once they become human and you no longer need the Deviators to talk to them, they leave your house to live their own lives. And once they leave, you can't talk to them anymore. And so you have to make sure to get all the interactions you want out of them before you realize them. And if you want to go full completionist, you realize the objects one by one until you're left with an empty house. But the good news is, depending on the character and the relationship you got, it'll tell you how your relationship continues. In slideshow form. Some of the characters visit you often, others are off doing their own thing and see you sometimes, some never leave you, and some you never see again. To end the game, you just have to leave your house, and you can do that at any point. Hell, you can do it right after you finish the tutorial if you want. But if you want to know what happens to the characters you're dating, you should finish their stories before you go, because once you touch grass, it's game over. If you romance every object/concept in your house, you get the mate everything ending. If you befriend everything, you get the relate everything ending. And if you make everything in your house hate you, you get the hate everything ending. There are some other secret endings too, such as if Keith is the only object you realize before leaving your house. I do want to be completely transparent and say that in my quest to reach the love route for every character, I have actually not finished the game yet, but I did cheat and look up some stuff. Other people's gameplay, I know I'm terrible. But I wanted to be entirely in the loop before making this video. So, with all the characters and all the possibilities, there's lots of endings you can get. Some good, some okay, and some not so good. And speaking of the characters, to give you guys a sort of lay of the land, I'm gonna go ahead and crack open the HGTV catalog, as it were. Can you imagine what would happen if you were able to bring the Deviators to an IKEA? I want to date the embodiment of a Swedish meatball. So, with a list of romanceables this extensive, there's of course gonna be fan favorites and then some underrated faves, and then some that are kind of polarizing. If you're curious which characters were the most popular in terms of content, aka who were the darlings of Sassy Chap Games, this is a fan-made list that compiled every single object's appearance in marketing and promo, official art, prints, videos, etc. The top 10 are Skylar, Rebel, Doug, the Hanks, Jean-Loup, Hoove, Shelly, Harper, a tie between Cam and Freddy, and Keys. The fan favorites, I'd say, are pretty universally well known and acknowledged throughout the fandom. Like, you can't see Date Everything without seeing these guys. Hell, if you're not in this fandom, then you might have seen fan art of them floating around yourself. There's the Breaker Box duo, Volt and Eddie. The fact that they're voiced by Jonas Scott and his delectable voice does not help.
I find that hard to believe, since this is the first time I've seen you here.
Alright, that's enough sap for one night.
I mean, by God, just look at them. It's funny because I see both clusters of fans, the ones that prefer Volt and the ones that prefer Eddie. I know Volt got my attention from the get-go, cause and sometimes I'll see them fight amongst each other, like you can't have one without the other, Eddie is better than Volt, but usually it's just them macking on each other, so I can't get to the ships yet, I'm jumping ahead. Dorian in his many forms and flavors, Trap Dorian in particular, Door Daddy, Ding Dong, Hector the HVAC husband, Bruno Madrigal adjacent.
You'll never know how beautiful you are, my lobster. Did I say lobster? Did I say lobster? Lobster under the sea, see me go, I go now. Thank you, goodbye.
Betty, oh my god, Betty, my fluffy, comfy duvet wife! Why is she so hot? Mac is another beloved dateable.
I wonder how you would taste if I put honey all over you and licked you up and down.
Oh my goodness, girl.
Parker, Chance, Zoe, Cam.
Bring that fantastic red shirt over here. I'm gonna take it off with my teeth.
as for the more underrated dateables, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes because there's like the really popular characters, obviously, but then there's like semi-popular ones, there's ones that have really dedicated fan bases, but they're kind of niche. Dunk, while not super popular, has some really dedicated fans. I think partially because of his VA being Alejandro Saab. There's Willy, Rainy, Gaia, Bathsheba, Koa, I, Ronaldini, Maggie, Fadia. I could go on. Granted, any character that's not super popular could be considered underrated, so if you want to garner your favorites some attention, then go ahead and drop them in the comments. Let us know why you love them so much.
Your contact lenses just arrived.
1-800-CONTACTS.
They can't have my brand. I have special eyes.
Look with your special eyes.
My brand.
Now, since we're here, I might as well share some of my personal favorites. Holly is very near and dear to my heart. I'm a holiday fiend and a workaholic. Put them together and we're birds of a feather. Her design is so cute with all the nods to festivities, from the Easter bunny ears, the Chinese New Year lanterns, the Halloween and Christmas sprinkles everywhere. Memoria. I love her dress. I love her nostalgic theming. I had the little puppy dog thing she holds. I'm blanking on the name at the moment, but I had the pink one as a kid and loved it like a child. She scratches my brain in the best way. Hoove is another favorite of mine. It's funny because I actually hate vacuuming IRL. The noise just wigs me out. I can't stand the sound of vacuum cleaners. But Hoove, he could suck on me whenever he wants. Oh God, I'm gonna have to cut that. Naughty, stop it. From all the promos I saw, I really liked Dirk's design, and the fact that he's voiced by Johnny Young Bosch. I'm doing laundry! I do like Dorian a lot. Maybe not as much as his upper echelon of fans, but he's definitely up there for me. Barry's adorable, Bobby's a lot of fun. I really like Diana, Miranda, Cherami, Tony, Prissy, Bodhi, Dolly. A lot of E-names here. Koppy is adorable. You know, I'm something of a barista myself. It was super cute. Before I started playing the game, someone sent me a submission on Tumblr and was like, oh my god, you remind me of this character from Date Everything. And it was Koppy. Should I do a Koppy cosplay? Let me know. Now with the more polarizing characters, it's not to say that they're not well liked, because some of these guys have really dedicated fans. It's just that opinions about them tend to be a bit more mixed. And for some, outside of their dedicated fans, maybe they actually aren't well liked. There's Timothy, or Timmy, voiced by Bryce Pappenbrook.
Timmy, sorry.
Scheduling time for him can be a blessing or a curse depending on if you've got a thing for high and mighty punctual types with the Catboy, Jekyll and Hyde shtick. It's funny because every reaction I've seen to Timothy/Timmy has been so visceral.
Master.
Timmy yawns and stretches, curling up on the rug. Oh my!
His fans would die for him, and his haters are always on the verge of chucking their computers whenever they have to interact with him. Scandalabra. Oh, you posh, gossipy little bitch. Yeah, many folks found him to be annoying or just too much to handle, though once you get his plot twist and backstory, you may change your mind about him, just saying.
I know the joke is like, oh, how can that ever be anyone's type? But it's my type! Put the frock coat back on and tie your cravat, boy!
The Hanks are adored by the fandom. By regular non-fandom players, they're a little more polarizing. I've seen some dissent calling their dialogue cringe or too much, and some folks don't like their himbo energy going on, but they've got a lot of fan art and fics from fans. Lux, your on and off paramour. Lux essentially is the epitome of dating an influencer, derogatory, rebel. Some fans have stated that they don't really like her constant attitude or rudeness, it just rubs them the wrong way. Rubber ducky, you're not the one. Benoit. I've seen a lot of complaints against Benoit on TikTok. I think a lot of them are just like, ew, they're talking about sex, as if other characters don't talk about it very often. Funnily enough, the Rose toy blew up because of TikTok, but they are voiced by Erika Ishii, and so many of their fans will fight for Benoit. Jean-Loup, the little crapper, the little shit. What, does his boy charm and crapping turn you off? It is apparent, though, that most Jean-Loup fans are disappointed with this romance ending. Like, yes, I did in fact want my toilet husband to be with me forever. What do you mean I can't have that? Keith. Oh, Keith, you had such potential for being the DILF of the game, but no, you had to pull a DP Cooper on us. Friar Errol, with his religious shtick, can be off-putting for many folks, even if it is played humorously, and some who have had bad experiences with that sort of thing have said that they just can't with him. For others, however, it really does it for them. Tina, think of hers like the embodiment of reality TV. Entertaining as hell for some, maybe not so much for others. She is voiced by the iconic Grey Delisle, so I don't know about you, but that boosts her up in my book. Hector is also a bit polarizing as well, due to the fact that he's kind of like, watching you all the time. But at least from what I've noticed compared to other more polarizing characters, he's typically seen more positively. So, compared to, say, Fantina, who has a similar vibe. Some say this is a bit of a double standard, others say it's different because Fantina comes off more strongly and it's a different situation. Yearning versus obsession, where's the line exactly? Sophia is similar to Hector in that while she can be polarizing due to her being a dominatrix, which, like Benoit, can turn people off on account of the sensuality of her character, she does have very dedicated fans who adore her and would love to be lovingly swatted on the bum by her.
You're a bad boy, aren't you?
Yes, Mummy. Sorry, Mummy.
You know what happens to bad boys?
Yes, Mummy.
And Doug. Oh, Doug. Alright, you know what time it is. So, shipping. Look, as Date Everything is a dating sim, obviously you're going to be shipping yourself with characters, or your OCs, lots of great fan works with homebrewed objects and canon objects together. But because many of the dateables already know each other, or at least of each other, it's not difficult or out of the question to ship the objects. If you were to take a look at every possible pairing permutation amongst the dateables, then you'd have 5,151 ships. I mean, there's bound to be a ship in there you like somewhere, right? Even though you're supposed to ship yourself with the stuff around your house, and I do have fun with that, my shipper ass immediately zeroed in on what could I ship with each other. Date everything? No. Everything. Please date. This is why I'm forever doomed to the cliché. While you do take priority in terms of being with the characters, be it romantic or friendship, there are some canon or at least implied ships in the game. There's Drysdale and Washford, who are exes, but you can help them rekindle their love. Celia and Florence, the floor and the ceiling respectively. Yearning Yuri. Abel and Dasha, very stable, very reliable. Doug and Art, that's an interesting one. Dirk and Harper. You've heard of Toxic Yowie and Toxic Yuri, get ready for the Divorce Simulator 3000! Keith and Dorian, also known as Unlocking Doors. Lady M, Art, and Cam with their flirty dynamic going on. Tony and Tina, yet another unfortunate matchup with all the wrong angles. And of course, outside of these ships, there's a plethora of fan ships. Some are more popular and draw upon stuff from the game, others are more low-key and more so work off of potential, and then there's the pure crack ships, which a lot of the time are my personal favorites. There's Johnny Splash and Jean-Lou, aka Bathroom Yowie. There's Parker and Chance, also known as Roleplay. There's Parker, Chance, and Connie, the gamers. Doug and Parker's ship is also known as Board Games. Board Games? There's Johnny Splash and Dorian, Shower Door. Amir and Jean-Lou is a funny one. Amir and Johnny Splash. Any iteration of the Bathroom Squad is hilarious. Mitchell and Dorian, DoorDash.
Don't rob me, Katie. I'm just not ready.
Beverly and Kopi, the Drink Girlies. Rainy and Keys. Mitchell and Daisuke. Food lovingly cradled in a bowl or spread out on a plate. Chance and Chermy, they both love storytelling. Chance and Lux, this one surprised me, but their interactions during the G&G campaign sold it for a lot of people, and not gonna lie, I can see the appeal. Telly and Bodhi. Dorian and Bobby, also known as Lockpick. Dorian is in a lot of these ships. Forget being a door, he's the Fandom bicycle. Sophia and Bobby. Sophia and Monique. Dasha and Penelope. Dunk and Barry. Scandelabra Cest, my goodness. Dishy and Sinclair. Memoria and Teddy. I really like this one. Betty and Dolly. Stepford and Dunk. Hoove and Jerry, both characters being about letting things go. There's Jacques and Beau, Jacques Box. Polly Hanks is a fun one, that one's pretty popular. There's Reggie and Skylar. Cuppy and Nightmare. I like that one a lot. There's whole ass ship rankings and charts for figuring out which objects you want to smash together. That many ship options. There's a lot you can do with that. By far one of my favorite things in this fandom, though, is seeing people make OCs. Listen, 100 things to date in your house covers a lot of ground, but there's still a lot of ground to cover. Loads and loads of brilliant OC concepts. I stumble upon new ones every day and I'm just like, that feels like it could fit right at home in the game. I saw some great brainstorming from people saying that if you were able to leave your house during the game and go to like your backyard, being able to meet like a whole assortment of garden shed characters would be really fun. I've had a few ideas for OCs come up, like going off the top of my head. A sewing machine character would be cool, or like the embodiment of all the craft supplies from hobbies you picked up and then dropped at some point. A music box OC would be pretty. Oh god, you did a blind box and then you don't know what you're gonna get. Wind chimes. A broom, her name could be Broomhilda. Or your garage with Garage Dorian. You could date your car! Or maybe no, your garage is too filled up and so your car can't get into it. A rake who acts like a rake from the Regency era. Rakish, devilishly good charm. Oh, best idea yet. One of those cheesy signs that people put in their kitchen or living room that are like live, laugh, love. It's like you're dating the embodiment of a Hallmark movie. But deep down, the character's like a frustrated wine mom whose whole thing is they're trying to make others happy with the platitudes on their signs, but she's hanging on by a literal thread and feels super unfulfilled. Boom. Yeah, I can see why they had to scale down from 500 dateables. Unfortunately, I haven't seen many Date Everything cosplays out and about in the wild at conventions, but the cosplays I have seen online have been very, very cute. It's been really cool seeing how people are able to craft them from scratch because the designs are so distinct. If I had to cosplay a character, Kopi is definitely up there. Skylar could be cute. Memoria? Oh, Holly! I definitely do Holly. Looking at Date Everything's AO3 stats, there's about 4,000-ish fics. The first one that wasn't dated back to 1951 came out on April 30th, written pre-Date Everything release, and it's a platonic relationship between the player and Sam. Going through the ratings here. Sorry, I don't know what I expected, but the most popular rating for fics here is explicit. Makes sense, you want to bang your furniture. After that is mature. There's about 1,000 fics between those two ratings, good god. And then teen and up is the next one, and then general, and finally not rated. In terms of fandoms, this is where we'll see some crossovers with other fandoms. There's original work Deltarune, I could see that actually, and then Cookie Run, My Hero Academia, Harry Potter, Marvel, Pokemon, Undertale, and Stardew Valley. The most written about characters in fanfics are the player, of course, reader, Eddie, there we go. Eddie and Volt, yup. Dorian, Hector, Betty, Chance, Mac, and Parker. Some of the most popular dateables. Okay, moment of truth, relationships. Eddie x Volt, the Breaker Box duo, is the #1 ship. They're followed by Hector x Reader, and then Eddie x Volt x Reader, a Breaker Box sandwich, if you will, and then Dorian x Reader, Hector x You, so another x Reader essentially, Eddie x Reader, Volt X Reader, and then Hector X Player. Hector is popular. Mac X Reader, and then finally Chance X Reader. And the most popular additional tags are fluff, not beta red, smut, gender neutral reader, angst, hurt comfort, sex, assigned female at birth reader, established relationship, and fingering. Oh, love to see it! Okay, time for the more not-so-fun stuff. As with every fandom, there's always gonna be parts that make people wrinkle their nose and sigh a bit, and Date Everything is no exception. With a character roster this big, there's bound to be something that rubs someone the wrong way. Common points of Date Everything fandom drama and discourse include minor coded characters. This was a hot topic of debate. Obviously, every character in the game is an adult, but there were some people claiming that some of the characters look more childlike or are child-coded. Characters that often get thrown into this category are Timmy or Mateo, even Skips, aka XXX Shadowlord 420 XXX. Obviously, if you're not comfortable dating certain characters because they look too young or too old for you, that's totally fine. But then claiming that they're minor-coded, ooh, it's an open door for problems. Ragging on character designs. This one makes me a bit sad because all of the character designs are so unique, so different from stuff you normally see in dating sims, right? Like some are quirkier or funkier than others, but that's the charm of it, you know, the whimsy of it all. Do I like some designs more than others? Yeah. And obviously, again, with a character roster this big, there's gonna be some characters you're like, their design's just not doing it for me. But then some folks will try to fix character designs they don't like and turn them into the most unimaginative rebrands. I don't know, I think I'm just too attached to everyone in this game. The people complaining about having to date all the characters. Some folks groan at the idea of having to romance certain dateables. I've seen some streamers be like, but I'm not gay, why do I have to talk to or romance this person? I'm too monosexual for this, is another line that gets thrown around a lot. Never mind the game being literally called Date Everything, and it's a game with its only objective being to date stuff, but it's also a sandbox, so you don't have to romance everything if you don't want to. But if you do decide to, then don't be shocked when there's more than just your preferred options out there. Like, sorry it's not catering to your whims, dude. There's plenty of other dating sims out there if this one doesn't tickle your pickle. People complaining about the people who complain about having to date all the characters. These guys see the, ugh, I can't believe I have to literally try to date everything crowd and take it to the next level. They go on defense, lashing out at those who decide they don't actually want to date everything for any number of reasons. It can get to the point where if someone's like, yeah, I don't know, I just don't want to romance this character, they're not for me, they'll be like, what? Why? What's wrong with them? What's your problem? And if your answer is deemed inexcusable, you better run for the hills. There's even been some blowback along the lines of, this game isn't for you if you're not attracted to all the characters. Again, never mind the fact that it's a sandbox game where your house is your oyster and you're free to date whoever you please. There are some very vocal people in the fandom who have expressed how uncomfortable the more sensual dialogue makes them. While the game itself doesn't offer any explicit imagery, there's no shortage of suggestive descriptions or allusions to sexual content. It's basically the equivalent of smut being narrated to you, nothing too crazy mind you, but certainly not something you want to be blasting at work. And if all of that just isn't for you, then hey, more power to you for recognizing that. We've all got thresholds of what we're comfortable with. However, this has been enough for some fans to decry the game as being too lewd or too sexual, claiming the premise of it and the promise of certain characters is ruined by the sexual content. Some dateables would be so much better if they weren't talking dirty to you all the time. At least on my fandom pursuits though, most fans have been more than happy to self-identify as gooners for this game and relish in the debauchery. And I also can't help but point out the rating and warnings of the game as well. Millennial cringe and jokes. Some players are just not down for the sort of humor that is prevalent in the game, calling it BuzzFeed or Tumblr slop. They end up clashing with fans who really enjoy the comedy and think it's really charming, and it really just ends up becoming the dead horse fight between millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. I don't know. As a cusper, I had a good chuckle for the majority of the game. There were some jokes that made me go, oh yeah, that would have been a hit on 20 Tons Tumblr, and others did come off a bit, how do you do, fellow kids? But I am not the person to be nitpicking humor here, dude. The farts on Jean-Lou's backing track had me rolling around on my couch. It's not hard to make me giggle. And the generational tips are always so silly to me. Every generation's brand of humor is gonna be deemed cringe at some point. Might as well embrace it now. The player themselves. This became a hot button topic on social media when the point was made that despite the given that the player is meant to be a blank slate and is depicted as, well, this, due to some writing choices and dialogue options with certain characters, your self-insert comes off as a white millennial woman with no prospects, no matter how you're playing it. The player as an entity is not so subtly implied to be a sheltered shut-in, but with some character interactions, that ignorance ends up flying into microaggression territory. The devs did respond to criticism and have been really open to making changes for the character's dialogue, which is good. All in all, I think this tweet sums it up nicely, and I'm glad that people have been open to talking about this constructively. Being sad about realizing characters, seeing all your faves go bye-bye.
Devon! Maria!
Or not being satisfied with a character's ending or story beats. Lots of so-and-so deserved better, or what was the point of everything if they all leave? Some have also stated that because there are so many characters, and obviously some will have more fleshed out narratives than others, there are a fair amount of characters whose relationship journeys with you feel very shallow or underdeveloped, but they themselves suffering from a lack of depth. Content warnings, both people being upset that certain characters don't have content warnings, games, or getting annoyed at the content warnings in general and Skylar cock-blocking them. Date Everything being compared to mobile games with its style and graphics. I've seen Date Everything be compared to Monster Prom, Episode. Dream Daddy comes up a lot in terms of comparisons with the art style and vibes. Some fans weren't too impressed with the visuals of the game outside of the 2D character assets, and combined with the bugs that were limiting gameplay for a while, it wasn't exactly a complimentary comparison with mobile games. Date Everything isn't a real dating sim. Some more diehard dating sim fans have expressed that Date Everything isn't a true dating sim, and instead operates more like yet another gimmicky, quirky dating sim parody. At least from what I've seen though, Date Everything from the beginning has never been touted as a très authentique, super traditional dating sim. Again, I think it's another case of people being baffled about a game that's title is Date Everything, where you can, date everything in your house. But I'm also not a diehard dating sim person, so. On a brighter note though, it does seem that a lot of the not so fun parts of the Date Everything fandom are fairly contained, and it really just comes down to what you're interacting with regularly in the Date Everything fandom. With how fast fan communities can move online, some folks have been touting that the Date Everything fandom is already dead a few months in. And while it has quite down some, outside of the initial hype fading away, people are still happily posting their cosplays, OCs, fics, fan art. I actually had to re-record several portions of this video because stuff became out of date by the time I got around to editing. New discussions and talking points keep popping up, and I'm still having a blast trying to finish the game. I'd love to do another playthrough at some point, making different choices next time around, to see where I end up with my favorite characters. With new potential content coming out in the future and no shortage of ideas for dateables, I for one am quite curious to see where the fandom will be in a year or so from now. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this dive into the Date Everything fandom. What are your thoughts on the game? Have you played it? Are you going to play it? Have I influenced you to play it? I'm doing my job! Who are your favorite dateables, and which dateables need more love in your opinion? If you have any ideas for OCs or potential ships, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. And say there was a Date Everything 2 at some point, or expansion packs in the future, what would you want to be included? As always, if you'd like to see more fandom, fanfiction, and fan culture-esque videos from yours truly, then feel free to subscribe. And if you want to see my fanfiction recommendation spreadsheet with over 1,000 fanfics on there, and watch exclusive videos you can't find on my channel, then head on over to my Patreon or YouTube memberships. Thank you so much again for watching, everybody. Have fun dating everything, and I will see you in my next video.